Why is it that when you really want to do something, your mind works against you? Why is it when you set a goal, want to try something new, embark on an adventure, your mind is basically like danger, danger, warning, warning. The dreaded resistance comes up, and that can show up as, I like the term productive procrastination. So you're going to go film, but before you film, you have to clean your entire house and organize all your files and clean your car. And that resistance signals to the body to be stressed, that there's stress going on. And that stress then leads to a creative block, friction, avoidance. Careful down there. I think resistance is a really interesting thing. I've played around with resistance a lot in my entire life. I think for me, a lot of times it boils down to just fear. And if I can just sit with that fear and I go through what's called the detour method. It's from the book Growing Yourself Back Up. One of the best self-help books I've ever read in my entire life. The best. Changed everything for me. And it's a really simple, it's not simple, it's pretty deep, but there's just four simple steps. And the first is, so you're going to lay down or sit in a comfortable position, and you're just going to observe and then name the physical sensations you're feeling in your body. So I could say that right now. I'm feeling, tightness in my, I'm feeling tightness in my chest. I'm feeling a little short of breath. Get a little pressure on the left side of my head. And the key is just to name them and observe. There's no judgment. There's no, oh my gosh, this is what I'm feeling. It's just, I'm doing a full body scan. I feel like my shoulders are high up. They're not, they're a little bit tight. The back is, my traps are a little bit tight. Once you name those physical sensations, then you move on to the emotions. If you have trouble naming emotions like I have in the past, I really recommend, it's called the feelings wheel. I can put a link to it, and it'll help you kind of go and look at all the spectrum of emotions that we can feel, or it's actually a circle, it's a wheel. And it really helps you kind of narrow in what you're feeling. And so then your next step would be to name, no judgment, no stories, the emotions that you're feeling. So I could say right now I'm feeling worry, some panic, a little bit of sadness, some excitement. And so you would go through that, and I mean, it could be as many or as few as you like. There's no limit on this. There's no right or wrong. Then the third step would be or the third step that I do, it might not be exactly to the detour method, but it'd be, what stories are you telling yourself about what you're feeling? What's the story? What's the script running through your mind? And it could be, for me right now, it's, you're rambling and this is going to be horrible. This video is going to be horrible. People are going to think that you're a mess, that you don't know what you're talking about. And then the thought is, you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should just quit this. Why are you doing this? There's a lot of people out there that can do this better than me. Who do I think I am? Big one. And so those are the stories that are coming up for me. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of anchor into that feeling, because now I've kind of brought up those stories and I'm feeling a little bit more intense. Those emotions are kind of intensified. And so I am going to now see how I'm experiencing this in the body. And there's like a distinct feeling to this. So I'm going to kind of capture that feeling that I'm feeling, which is like the tightness, it's like sick kind of butterflies in my stomach, shortness of breath. And then I'm going to see if this is a familiar feeling. If this is something that perhaps I felt before. And I'm going to go back and see if I can remember a time, the earliest that I can, 10 years old, 5 years old, 8 years old, 16 years old, the earliest time that I felt this. And I'm just gonna kind of be with that. And sometimes it pops up really quickly. You're like, and you can pinpoint exactly when you felt this, what age, what happened. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes you might not even get there, and that's okay too. Just going through those steps just helps you observe what's going on in your body and your emotional state. And for me, actually, it's interesting because there's a memory. I won't go into the memory specifically, but it seems like around 5 years old, and it has to do with starting school. I was feeling a lot of worry, a lot of stress about that, and wondering if, I'm going to be stuck there, if anyone's going to pick me up, if I'm going to see my mom again, and just kind of that primal fear, that fight or flight fear. When we're children, we are at the whim of our caregivers, and I'm not saying that this was this happened to me, or that fear was because that has happened to me, I was abandoned. No, that's not the situation at all. But we have that part in our brains when we're children, where that is a if we got left behind, it's a huge threat to our life. This is a familiar feeling. I remember feeling it around 5 years old, and I remember feeling and having this feeling a lot growing up. And so the goal is now to, I don't know, you'd have to read the book. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a person that's been on the healing journey for a very long time. But this detour method, what it does is it stops me from spiraling. It stops me from from escalating. And it just helps me, honestly, kind of feels like it neutralizes it. So now that I've gone through these steps, I've kind of named it, I can kind of now let it go, and perhaps at some level in the body, it closes that loop. Take what you want with that, but that book is absolutely incredible. From the book's perspective now, I have regressed to my 5-year-old state in talking in this video. So the act of recording myself and filming this video has triggered this memory, and I'm now reliving it through this current reality. And I've regressed to my 5-year-old state. So it makes it very difficult for me to make adult decisions. And it puts me in that 5-year-old mentality, and I'm going to make decisions based off of, the decision making ability of a 5-year-old. And so a lot of times that's why you see people lash out. You see people go to the dentist, they're regressed because they have, very triggered, and it's very kind of scary for them, and they've had a bad experience with the dentist. So we need to be very aware of when we are regressing or when we're regressed and how we act. I know that everybody goes through this. I think resistance is kind of a fact of life. I love feeling in the flow and feeling creative. But this resistance really offers an opportunity to kind of pull back, observe, and to look at things deep down that maybe are a little bit hidden. And I hope that as I move through this block, it'll just deepen my creativity, my authenticity, and my ability to show up. So, see you next Sunday.